Possibilities there. Last year, the Ravens' passing game was certainly less than ideal. The receivers had 17 touchdowns, finished in the bottom half of the league in yards per catch and yards after the catch, and they were dead last in total receiving yards. Antonio Brown certainly, you would assume, would be able to help with that to some degree. And, of course, they've brought in Sammy Watkins. Jeff, what is the latest as far as Antonio Brown's quest for a new team?
Well, he is at an impasse with the Bucs in terms of their contract talks, so he is treating this like a true free agency. The question, of course, becomes whether another team is willing to offer more money than the Bucs. The Bucs recognize that they believe that his best fit is with Tom Brady in Tampa, and everybody around the league that I talk to believes the same. That being said, if another team, we talk about, I think we always connect Baltimore and Seattle because their quarterbacks have been very outspoken about their level of appreciation and willingness to play with Brown. So if Seattle or Baltimore were to step up and offer Antonio more money at this point, and maybe a little bit more security in terms of a long-term contract, I could definitely see him taking one of those two.
What would you think of the fit, Damien Woody? Antonio Brown in that offense with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore?
Well, listen, I think it would be a good fit. I don't think it would be the ultimate solution to what ails the Baltimore Ravens passing game, but to bring in a veteran like Antonio Brown. Listen, we know about his work ethic as far as in practice and being able to go out there and do things during the game. Lamar Jackson need more reliable weapons on the outside to bring out the most of him in the passing game. But I think the Baltimore Ravens need to continue to add to that in the draft. So while I do feel like Antonio Brown will bring an element to the Baltimore Ravens offensively, he's not going to be enough to, in my opinion, to take the Baltimore Ravens offensively where they need to be.
And then, Matt, for those who have not followed this closely, because everyone knows the names Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, this is an NFL draft that is overloaded with really good receiving prospects, and you can sort of take your choice. Yep. You can get the small, fast ones. You can get the big physical ones, depending on the offense. What is your sense of the Ravens maybe going that direction in the draft?
Yeah, Greeny, I think the one thing to point out here is that AB is a lot like the player they have in Marquise Brown. They have one receiver over 6'3", and that's Miles Boykin, who is not the most physical route runner in the world. So when I look at Baltimore and they need a wide receiver, I look at people like Terrace Marshall Jr., a wide receiver from LSU, who's 6'3" and ran a 4.38 at his pro day. So they need size. You have to expand the strike zone of Lamar Jackson, who is dynamic as a quarterback, but maybe not the most accurate. So if you give him a big body, a versatile wide receiver who can win the 50-50 balls, who can post up, think of all the wonderful things Mark Andrews does in that offense. Now you give him someone with the speed to separate from defensive backs instead of a small wide receiver. I think Terrace Marshall at 27 is too good of a fit to pass up if he's on the board.
Yeah, 13 touchdown catches the year they won the national championship 2 years ago, 10 more this past year, and is projected to go right in that range, late first round, early second, so that does seem like a logical place. All right, much more as we go on this. Meanwhile, let me get up and go with some other news, and this, of course, very disturbing from yesterday. Police say that excess speed caused the crash that seriously injured Tiger Woods, whose SUV was traveling more than 80 miles an hour.
Man, all I tell people, he's a winner. He's a very versatile quarterback. He's smart. And like you said, just the aura of him, like he comes in the huddle, demands the huddle, and he didn't let him being a rookie, like dictate how he play or how his swagger. He keeps the same swagger.
So, Matt Miller, take us back to a year ago and the evaluation of Jalen Hurts, who's someone that I think most people were somewhat surprised went as early in the draft as he did. And here he is a year later, finds himself with his own team and an opportunity to really take control of that job. Take us back to the evaluation, your expectation, and what you've seen from him.
Yeah, I really thought he would be a second or third round pick. So it was a small surprise that he went 53 overall. I think more so a surprise that he went to Philadelphia where they had Carson Wentz. But I liked Jalen Hurts as a player who would be in year two an NFL starter. My comparison for him was Dak Prescott, a quarterback who has very good mobility, can move to throw, doesn't have the strongest arm, but is accurate to those intermediate levels. I think the key with Jalen Hurts, what we saw going from Alabama to Oklahoma, he got with Lincoln Riley, he worked on his mechanics, he loosened up his delivery. That made him more accurate. I'm really excited to see where he takes that moving forward with a full offseason. We got to remember these rookie quarterbacks didn't have a preseason last year. They didn't have an offseason last year. So Jalen Hurts was really thrown into a tough situation. But I think the key is this offense, like Jalen Reagor said, they played better with Jalen Hurts. There was a lot more energy out on the field. The numbers went up as well. So I believe in him as the future starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, and hope they now put that system around him where he can go succeed and show the traits that he showed at Alabama, at Oklahoma. This guy won at every level of football before the NFL. I think he'll continue to do it.
Well, you know what I believe in? I believe in Damien Woody's crystal ball. So D. Wood came on this show and made a bold prediction before the season. He said Jalen Hurts will start games for the Eagles this year, and we all scoffed, and of course you were right. So now I'll ask for your crystal ball again. Is he going to claim that job? At the end of next season, will we say, that's it, the Philadelphia Eagles are Jalen Hurts' football team?
Greeny, I do, because I believe in exactly what Jalen Reagor was talking about, just the control and the leader of men. Those are the intangibles that quarterbacks have to have in this league. And we know that the Eagles are in rebuilding mode, but they got some assets where they can surround Jalen Hurts. And I just believe in the person that Jalen Hurts is. We've seen it from Alabama to Oklahoma. He's gotten better. But the one trait that he's carried all the way through is he's always been a leader of men. He's always been able to galvanize, his teammates. So he can carry that along. I think he'll be entrenched as a quarterback for the Eagles moving forward.
And Jeff, what do we know about the plans there? They trade back in the first round, so clearly they're in a rebuilding position, and they've got some of the ammunition now to try and do it.
Yeah, well, here's another thing. I actually am among the few who maybe know a little bit more about Nick Sirianni and actually believe that he's a really good person for this job. I know that he's been under fire since he got hired, mostly because he's such an unknown, but I think he was very largely responsible for a lot of the success in Indianapolis. I know we give it to Frank Reich, but Nick also really put that team in a good spot. So coupling him with Jalen Hurts, I think, is one of the more underrated storylines of this coming season. I think that there's some real potential for this duo to maybe surprise some people this season.
That would be a fascinating thing to watch. Again, that looks like a team that might be building for a year or two down the line. If they were to start making some hay in a division where no one had a winning record last year, maybe that wouldn't be all that surprising. Meanwhile, let's talk about a player who's looking for a home, and that is Antonio Brown. Now, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens were in the news yesterday because this video came out of Lamar Jackson, Hollywood Brown, and Antonio Brown working out together.